Okay, YouTubers, welcome back to part 2 of the fuel module replacement in the 2000 Jeep Cherokee Sport. If you watch part 1, then if you haven't, then go ahead and do that now, and then come back to this one. Subscribe to the channel, please. Appreciate it. And give the video a like and thumbs up, whichever you want to call it. And what I'm going to do now is show you that I have put the fuel tank back in. Let me get laid down here on the floor. Okay. As you can see, the fuel tank is back in. Now, I'm going to try to show you some stuff up here. One of the things I didn't talk about during removal of the fuel tank was the fuel filler hoses. You have a overflow and a filler. Now there they are right there. One on the right is obviously the filler. One on the left is the overflow vent, whichever you want to call it. Now you will have to take the shield off. That here it is, right here. It goes up in here. I left it off so I could show you guys what it looks like up in there. You get 4 little self-tapping screws, so you need a 10mm socket for that. The hose clamps are 7mm. Now I've turned the heads of these hose clamps around so I could get to them a lot easier. The factory puts them up top, so that just pretty much confirms that they when these things go through the assembly plant, they are the drivetrain, fuel system, well, some of the electrical is installed, and then the body is set down on top of the frame. So anyway, this tank had never been out of this vehicle before. All right, there's your first strap that you'll have to deal with. Now, these weren't bad on this vehicle. You got that strap right there. I went ahead and sprayed them with some blaster to get any rust off, and then cleaned the studs off with a wire brush best I could. That one was okay. This one over here was a pain in the butt. I'm not monetized anyway, so I hope YouTube doesn't matter me using that word, pain in the butt. Anyway, I know I'm got the camera upside down here, but anyway, hold your phone or whatever you're looking at sideways. The reason this one's so hard to get off is because this one's double nutted. This nut right here is for the front of the heat shield, which is this guy right here. That almost certainly gets seized. Now I'll explain the flat washer in a minute. Wow, that thing's blurry. Okay, come on, focus. Hold on, let me turn my phone around here. Either way, so you finally get this thing broke. You got another nut between the heat shield and the gas tank strap up here. So a thin 9/16 wrench, and then your 9/16 ratchet wrench down here. You will have to work with it, more than likely. Now, if you do a lot of off-roading in your Jeep, you're probably going to have a hard time with this. This vehicle has never been off-road other than to drive through the guy's yard, the guy that owns this vehicle. You can see it's real clean underneath here. I just recently done exhaust work on this vehicle for the fella. So once you get this one loose, you'll probably have to work the nut down the stud and back up a few times, you know, and spray it a few times, but just take your time, because this is a spot where I see a lot of people do get aggravated right here. Now, the reason you don't want to cut this part of the heat shield is because you're gonna do yourself over good if you do that. Okay, so, and the reason being is because back here you have, if I can show you, you've got 2 bolts, okay, that go up into the frame that hold this heat shield. Now, you might get them out, you might not. but try not to break this right here. So just take your time, spend the time it's going to take. You'll eventually get that nut loose, and if you have to cut the nut off, just remember your gas tank's in here, so there could be fumes. And then it won't matter if you need to change the fuel pump or not. But anyway, so you get this nut off, take it completely off, put it on the floor, in your pocket, whatever you do. And then you still have the shield in the way. So what you do is take a pair of 10 snips and you make 2 small cuts into the bolt hole from the edge. You see how the edge of this one's missing now? This is what I do. You do what works for you, but this works easier, quicker for me. And that way you can bend this heat shield down away from the stud. Now you can get your ratchet wrench up in here and take out the other one. Now, get to the second nut that's actually holding up the gas tank strap. Now, that being said, you will have to bring these nuts down about, I'd say about halfway down the stud to be safe. You shouldn't have to go any farther than that, because what you can do is follow the stud all the way up here, and then at that point you can just kind of take your floor jack and your piece of plywood underneath the fuel tank and kind of jack it up a little bit to relieve the pressure, the tension on the straps, and then you can just pull up on the rod, stud rod here, and it'll come out. Okay, same thing on the other side. All right, and then you can take your gas tank down. You're gonna have to take it down a little bit so you can get to the filler hoses over here, where they pass through the frame rail on the vehicle. Like I said, your clamps are more than likely going to be facing up towards the floor pan, so you'll need a 1/4 inch drive ratchet and 7mm socket, and you will have to loosen them a little bit, and to at least where you can spin the clamps around to where you can get it from the bottom. And then take a pry bar and just slowly pry those things off of there. They should not be too stuck on there, but who knows? If you do a lot of off-roading, well, you got your work cut out for you. All right, there's your electrical. As stated earlier, I showed in the previous video, there's your lock pin to keep this connector from falling apart. And I'm getting ready to tie that up, but your fuel lines, go ahead and pull the vent and the fuel supply line down out of the clip right here. It'll come down, or it'll bring the whole clip down. Don't worry, it'll go back in as long as you don't break it. And then that's about all I really got to say. I mean, like I said, this video is to show that it's back installed. I've already cycled the pump a few times to fill up the fuel rail and injectors. We'll go that way first, or next. All right, so then fuel tank's in, everything's hooked back up. Come up front, make sure your fuel line that feeds from the tank to the fuel rail is connected and locked in place. Then go over here, put your ground back on your battery. Now, you can call this a little old-fashioned if you will, but I put them on there and I wait about 15 seconds. Then I take it off for 5 seconds and then I put it back on. I don't know if it clears any hidden codes or possible codes, whatever. Maybe I'm doing it for nothing, but all right, and then tighten it down. Go in here, inside the car, put the key in the ignition. Don't forget to put gas back in the fuel tank. Doesn't do much good to cycle the pump if you got no gas. And then just turn the key off and on. I did this one 3 times to fill up the fuel rail and check for leaks at the injectors, the main fuel line where it connects to the injector rail, and of course back at the fuel tank. So once I had no leaks, I was able to start the vehicle, and that's what I did. All right, hang tight here, guys. All right. So we are back running. We had 10 gallons of gas to put in it, so we're at half a tank. This is a 20-gallon tank. So, all right. Well, that is the end of part 2. I'm going to do a part 2 to the electrical wires in the door here soon. Maybe today, probably tomorrow. Got other stuff to do today. So, anyway, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, please think about subscribing to my channel. Check out other videos that I have on the channel, how-to videos, if you will. And hit that little notification bell so you'll get notified when I post other videos in the near future. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Till the next time. See ya.